Hello, today I wanted to talk to you about gold. So I've seen quite a few comments recently regarding the price of gold and whether to invest in gold or not. And I decided I wanted to share with you my thoughts on this subject and whether I think it's a good idea to buy gold or not. So first of all, just let's talk about the general situation that we have at hand. So gold has been generally doing reasonably well, slight climb over the last couple of years. And then when we got to the COVID crash, sorry, jiggling around quite a lot there. Right, so when we got to the COVID crash, obviously the price of gold tumbled, as did pretty much everything, as everyone dumped their money into going to cash. Then, as we got towards the bottom here, what happened is all the governments decided to start printing loads of money. And then what happened is obviously lots of people thinking we're going to get mass inflation, we're going to have a huge global apocalypse, we need to invest in gold to be safe. So obviously that's what started happening. We had quite a big sudden spike over a few week period here. This chart's in weeks, just in case you haven't realised. So we had a big sudden spike back up again here, at which stage, for me, alarm bells started ringing, because at the same time the stock market was recovering, with a lot of stocks kind of similarly almost recovered by this stage as well. And at the time, a lot of people were saying that there was still going to be another crash, that this was like the denial recovery that you normally get, where you normally kind of have like a climb up, a little drop, a little recovery, and then a big drop. And people were saying at this stage that this was just that little recovery bit and that there was going to be some massive, massive drop still to come. Now, I didn't believe that. I was saying constantly that we were going to recover back up. And I think a lot of people at this sort of stage were still kind of thinking that there was still going to be that drop. So we still had that kind of continuation here of adding more money. And then the thing is, as that kind of confidence grew, and then there started to become more talk about a bubble, about EV bubbles, and the stock market was bubbling up because obviously we'd had this huge drop, and then all this money had been thrown into the economy, loads of stimulus checks, and all these people were running in with extra money to buy stocks, and so it was going to cause a big bubble, and this bubble was going to pop. Therefore, the best thing to do is to invest in gold, because that's safe. You also have the fact that obviously Warren Buffett decided to invest in a gold mine around this kind of time as well, which again obviously pushes the price of gold up, as people think it's a great investment idea. So like I said, around this kind of stage was actually when I opened this short position here. Obviously this is my virtual account, I wouldn't have done that with real money. And I opened this short position not because I thought it was going to make money, but more because I wanted to monitor the situation and kind of have a little bit of a check on myself of, well, this is what I said at this particular date, and how did this kind of pan out? And I think that's a really great use for demo accounts, if you guys have one, is if you're thinking of something and you're not quite sure, or you want to just check it to see if you're right, using your demo account to kind of do that check and balance on yourself, so that you can go back and learn from it at a later stage, is a really useful tool. So I opened this short because, as far as I was concerned, at this stage there was a lot of people thinking that things were going to happen that, in my opinion, weren't. So for example, people were thinking that we were going to have mass inflation, people were thinking we were going to get a huge market collapse, and all the other things that people do invest in gold for. And obviously, combined with that mass inflation and global collapse, people also, you get the people that think that fiscal currencies are not going to work, that they're all going to collapse, which in my opinion is completely ridiculous, but we'll talk about that another time. So you have all these people that start investing in gold and pushing the price up even higher. And like I said, in my opinion, I thought the concerns that people have are not going to happen. So that's why I thought this was a bit of a false price and that it was going to drop. Now, obviously, I was proven wrong to an extent with that in the respect of the fact that the price continued to climb. Now, my short position at this price was not to say that I didn't think the price was never going to go up any further. It was more that I thought I don't see a good reason why it will continue to climb. So it did climb, it got to this point, and then people started to realise, in my opinion anyway, they've started to realise that either that these things weren't going to happen, or actually all the people that were going to buy in already have, and now there's nobody left that's kind of wanting to buy gold. Now, obviously, we've had all the stimulus checks and everything come through. And I think what a lot of people have done is they've kind of seen the returns on stocks and all the other avenues that they could have invested in. And they've gone, actually, maybe I should have been putting my money there instead. Because when you look at this, let's say you bought down here at this kind of bottom dip at a price of about 1,500. At best, let's say you closed at the top peak here in this 2-week period here and got 2,000. Again, you're only actually making 33%. And that's only if you've timed it really well, that you've bought at the bottom here and that you've sold at the top. So that return of 33%, when you consider a large amount of stocks grew at least 100% in this time period, many grew much more than that. So a sensible investment could have returned much, much higher returns than this here. So looking at the future and where we think it's going to go from now, like I say, in my opinion, what seems to have happened is the buyers have got exhausted. Everyone that's bought in is going to buy in has. I think a lot of the emphasis now has moved away from gold, and people are using Bitcoin as a kind of like an alternative to gold. Because like I said, obviously you've got a lot of people that think that fiscal currencies are going to fail and therefore that we're going to go back to the gold standard. And those people that think that, often they're kind of similar people to the ones that are thinking that cryptocurrencies are going to be a viable currency and that Bitcoin is a superior currency as well. So you may find like a lot of the people that previously would have been investing in gold, or even some of these people that have invested in gold, may well have taken those funds out or are in the process of taking those funds out and investing in Bitcoin. So when we look at the longer stage history of gold, and we're talking back to 1973 here, you look through the various kind of peaks here, and back in the 1980s, obviously we had like another peak, and then it's kind of recovered and gone back to a sort of standard price. But again, the new normal being higher than the previous normal. And then over the past sort of 2 decades, we've had quite a huge climb. Reaching up, all our current price here was already hit 1855 there. So, and that was back in 2012. Now, the market's dropped since then and then recovered and gone back up again. This point here, as far as I'm concerned, I don't see this as sustainable. I don't think a price up here of 1,700 kind of range is sustainable. And I could easily, I don't think it's going to go back to the between 1,000 and 1,250. I think that's a little bit too low for the fact that obviously gold is going to be a continuing resource that's going to keep being used up, and the population expanding. This finite resource is it's always going to continue to climb in value. Whether it will climb back the price of this at now, I think, like I say, I think that's going to fall, and it's going to go down to probably about 1,500, 1,400, settle around there, and then potentially climb back up again to maybe where it is now over the next decade. But for me, when you kind of think about it, is that necessarily a good place to put your money. Now, obviously, a lot of people use gold as a hedge, which is absolutely a viable option for using gold. But when you think of what a hedge is, a hedge is like an insurance policy. You actually kind of almost hope to lose money on your hedge because of the fact that your hedge is only there to make money if the rest of your portfolio is losing money. So therefore, to an extent, a lot of people that are using gold as a hedge ideally really want gold to go down in value so that the rest of their portfolio goes up. In which case, like I say, for me, I just don't see the current price as sustainable. So I would be very, very cautious about buying in at its current price, despite the fact that it's dipped down from its, $2,000 high. Yeah, so that's my opinion. Be very careful if you're thinking about investing in gold. If you're doing it as a hedge, that's fair enough. That's a viable option for gold, because if we did get a huge sudden ramp of inflation, or currencies did for whatever reason fail, which I don't see happening, but if these things did happen, then holding gold could be a good option. So if you think that's going to happen, by all means maybe hold them, but for me it's just not worth it. And especially with the level of returns that you can get from gold compared to the level of returns that you will get from investing in a business. For me, like I say, that's the same kind of concept that Warren Buffett says. He wouldn't invest in gold itself, but if he thinks that gold's going to continue to rise in value, what he will do is invest in a business like a gold miner that he thinks is a good business that's going to make a lot of money, because that way you win both ways. If the price of gold stays static but your business continues to grow, you win. If the price of gold drops but your business still does well, you win. So that's why, in my opinion, I'd never invest in gold, and B, if I was to invest in gold, I would invest in a company that deals with gold. So that's my thoughts. What about you? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.